It was just a couple months ago when I put the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the OnePlus 12 in a head-to-head camera face-off. Both phones have since received their share of software updates that improve the performance of their cameras. Considering how the Galaxy S24 Ultra has performed in other camera shootouts, I think it's worth revisiting to see if the results will be the same against the OnePlus 12 and to definitively say which is the better camera phone. 10 categories, one winner, let's find out. Just as a refresher, the Galaxy S24 Ultra features a quadruple camera setup that consists of a 200 megapixel main camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and a 50 megapixel camera with 5x optical zoom. Meanwhile, the OnePlus 12 is paired with a 50 megapixel main camera, 48 megapixel ultra wide, and 64 telephoto with 3x optical zoom. For the main camera comparison, it's a deadlock in this indoor shot at Whole Foods because they both deliver excellent detail, strong dynamic range, and accurate colors that somehow neutralize the different sources of light that are there. It's only when I zoom into the shot that I'm able to discern the subtleties, like how the prices on tags are a bit more legible with the Galaxy S24 Ultra, while the OnePlus 12 looks slightly smudgy by comparison. Because of this, I'm giving the main camera win to Samsung. Inside of Whole Foods, I captured the snapshots at the produce section because it captures everything I need to properly hone into the colors throughout the scene. At first glance, I find them almost identical with the rich color tones. The greens, oranges, and reds of the peppers on the third row emphasize this, but the OnePlus 12 tends to saturate them just a bit, whereas they're more true to life looking with the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Some will find the saturation better with the OnePlus 12, but I prefer the natural tones of the S24 Ultra. With the sun a little to my left and behind me, I tested the dynamic range performance of the S24 Ultra and OnePlus 12 on these skyscrapers. This is a perfect test because of the strong light hitting the skyscraper in the middle of the shot, while the adjacent building to the left is shaded. This one's really close because they both do an excellent job at handling the contrasting areas. Highlights are preserved in areas where the sun is clearly hitting the buildings, but it's in the shadows where I see the difference. They're boosted a little with the Galaxy S24 Ultra, resulting in a better balance that draws out details, like in the shaded areas closer to the ground level or in the smaller building directly to the right. That's another point for the Galaxy. I love these macro photos of the sunflower, yet right away I can tell there's a clear winner. Given how the previous three categories focus on detail, colors, and dynamic range, I'm not surprised that the Galaxy S24 Ultra wins in the macro department either, because those three qualities are well represented here. I'll admit that the OnePlus 12 dishes up good results here, but it doesn't do as good of a job at preserving the details. And it's not just isolated to the shot of the sunflower, because all the other macro photos are evidence that the S24 Ultra is simply better. Not only is there more detail, but the stronger dynamic range performance better contrasts the highlights and shadows. Here's an example of why higher megapixels aren't good indicators of a camera's performance. The OnePlus 12 has a 32 megapixel selfie camera, which on paper would lead people to believe that's better than the 12 megapixel front-facing camera on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. It's easily a win for Samsung because it delivers the sharper, more detailed selfie. I'm impressed by the amount of definition from my hoodie and polo shirt, which appears softer in tone with the OnePlus 12. It's getting ugly. Before I get into portrait modes, I just want to mention that both phones have the ability to dial in the bokeh level, the effect that causes background blur. For some reason, I must have had the Galaxy S24 Ultra on a higher level because all the portrait photos I captured had their background substantially more blurred out. The Galaxy S24 Ultra again has more details captured in the portrait photo, mainly on the gray fabric of my hoodie, which looks softer in tone with the OnePlus 12. But I will say that the OnePlus 12 holds up nicely in all the other portrait photos I captured and does a better job than the last time at identifying faces. One important specification to look at in a phone's ultra-wide camera is its field of view. That's because a wider field of view means you'll get more of the scene into the frame than one with less, which is also helpful at squeezing as many people into a photo without having to step back. Samsung has a clear win here with its wider 120-degree field of view versus the 114-degree field of view of the OnePlus 12. In the side-by-side shot of the New York Public Library, you can see more of it and the surrounding buildings with the Galaxy S24 Ultra. But beyond this, I still prefer how the Galaxy S24 Ultra handles dynamic range because the bright blue sky isn't as overexposed, while the shadows and the archways are increased a bit to draw out the details that are otherwise otherwise less defined with the OnePlus 12. Interestingly enough, I feel like the OnePlus 12 got a lot better capturing zoom photos this time around because its long-range shots almost look as good as the S24 Ultra shots. Take, for example, the 6x zoom shot of the Empire State Building, which has a slight haze to it because of the building in front of it. I really like how the two balance out the shadows and highlights of the scene, along with the excellent details of the brickwork around all the buildings. It's only when I really zoom to the Empire State Building that I can make out a bit more detail with the S24 Ultra, which I can see from the lower level beneath the spire with the individual bricks on the building. The difference isn't a huge degree in these shots, but in the others at 30x and 100x zoom, it clearly gives the S24 Ultra the edge. Both phones can leverage either their main or ultra-wide cameras for panoramic photos, with the latter especially useful if you really want to capture as much of the scene as possible. I captured the panoramic photos of Bryant Park's lawn, and the results are actually very different. In fact, I could almost instantly tell which is the better one right away because of the distorted lines of the New York Public Library in the far background with the OnePlus 12. And that's in addition to its low contrast look and mushy details with the grass in the foreground. The Galaxy S24 Ultra does a much better job at retaining those details, as well as keeping the lines moderately straight with the building. Finally, we come to the area that I'm most interested in, low light performance. Why this above all the rest? Well, it's partly because it's in the area where I see the biggest performance disparities. In all the other categories, minor differences could be determined by personal preference, much like how some people may prefer the oversaturated colors of the OnePlus 12. In low light situations, these differences are amplified. I snapped a shot in an area that was illuminated by a couple of street lights towards my back, so the watered area looked pitch black to my eyes. Yet, with the help of the respective night modes, you can see how a few seconds of staying still pays off to brighten up the scene. Between them, the Galaxy S24 Ultra delivers better results with its sharper details, natural looking colors, and less artifacting. The OnePlus 12 isn't too bad either, but it suffers from the same warm hue as last time. What an absolute whitewash. Wow, Samsung once again proves it's the better camera phone with these new sets of photos. It's not to say you should steer clear from the OnePlus 12, but if quality is top priority and you could afford to shell out a few $100s more, then the Galaxy S24 Ultra is the no-brainer choice. I'm most satisfied by its low light performance, along with the main camera's superior detail capture and dynamic range performance. Given how religiously I take photos and videos, I'm still inclined to say that the Galaxy S24 Ultra is the one for serious users, not only because of the number of cameras at its disposal, but also because it has more shooting modes and AI editing features that help save me time. I've raved about the usefulness of Galaxy AI features with the Galaxy S24 Ultra, namely Generative Edit's ability to remove reflections in windows and instant slow-mo mode that turns any video into slow motion. However, OnePlus is slowly adding artificial intelligence with its features like AI Eraser. There's no denying the savings you'll get from choosing the OnePlus 12, and it'll add about $500 back to your pocket. I think it's enough of a selling point for people to accept its camera's performance. For a phone of its caliber, it still delivers top-notch results, but not against the Galaxy S24 Ultra in this case. What do you think? Is the camera system worth the extra $500? Let me know in the comments below. Despite this rough start for the OnePlus 12, we're going to keep putting it through its paces in the upcoming weeks, so stay tuned for that. For everything else, you can follow us on social at Tom's Guide on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. As for me, I'm John V, and I'll see you in my next video.